What is going on, guys? I'm Nick, and today we have another case for the iPhone 15 Pro, but it is one that is apparently really controversial. It is going to be the Finewoven case from Apple, and let's just get right into it, and we can talk about all the stuff that's been going on with this case as we work our way through. So starting with the packaging, as always, you get a really nice picture of the case right here, plain white box. Down here you do see that it says iPhone 15 Pro Finewoven case, and it is MagSafe compatible. Of course, it has to have MagSafe. But as you work our way around to the sides, you can see it's all white pretty much everywhere except for the back. Back here there is some instructions pretty much on how to put the case on. And then you see the name one more time. Down here you can see that I did get the black version because of course I just had to get the black. But let's get right into it. As I'm opening this up, I am going to throw the price for this case up on the screen, and we'll set all the packaging to the side. As soon as you pull it out, you do get your first look at the case right there. And I did actually order this case with my phone when I pre-ordered it, so I have been using this case for a little bit of time now. You can pull these out. Something that I would like to point out is actually on this little page right here. Let's see if I can get this in focus for you guys. That first little paragraph, it's made from micro twill. So you guys can pause and read this if you would like. I do want to talk a little bit about the materials of this case, because of course as we get into it, it's called Finewoven, which means it is going to be a fabric material. This is something that I know a lot of people aren't into. A lot of people aren't really enjoying the fact that it's made of fabric, but if you're someone like me who's a big backpack snob, you know that there is a ton of materials out there that are actually extremely nice. But we'll talk about that as we continue on. So here is the case itself. This is going to be the black version, which I feel does have a hint of blue to it. It is not a pitch black or anything like that. At least that might just be me. It's a little blue. To me, you do get the Apple logo right here on the back, a plastic camera ring. And then as we work our way over to the sides are a different material. They're not the Finewoven material, but they are also a fabric. We'll get a closer look at that later. Over on the inside, it is also that Finewoven material on the inside. It is not microfiber, and you can see that it is MagSafe compatible. It does have those MagSafe rings on the inside. It does say iPhone right down here. And then as for the inner sides of the case, they are also going to be the same kind of, actually I'm not sure what you would call that, but it is the material that is out here. It is not a silicone, it is also a sort of fabric. I'm just not completely sure as to what fabric it is. As we work our way to the buttons, you do see you have kept the metal buttons that were on the leather case from Apple, so definitely happy to see that. And you do have a dedicated button for your action button, not just a cutout. But let's grab the phone and let's go ahead and toss it in. So we have the iPhone 15 Pro right here in black titanium, and we're gonna snap it in just like this. Really easy to put on. Of course, you do get that nice animation that is only available to Apple cases, and accidental screenshot right there. There is the case. That is what it's going to look like, at least on the black phone. And it is definitely a nice look, I would say. I think it's a pretty nice look. We do have some dust on these lenses. Let's go ahead and wipe those down. And there it is. Now let's get right into some protection. Starting with the camera lenses, you can see the lip does protrude just barely enough to cover those lenses up. Again, with it being an Apple case, it is going to be fairly minimal when it comes to protection. We're not going to skip past the wobble test. It does have a smaller camera lip, I would say, so I am curious to see if it wobbles at all or how much it might wobble. So of course it does wobble up towards the top in that top left corner, as you can see. When we work our way back down to the bottom, it's pretty stable, so where you're normally going to be typing, you don't have too much to worry about. It's only back up here at the top. So not mad about that. I do also want to check the fit, since I was a decent fan of Apple's leather cases. They had pretty nice fits on them, and so does this one. You can see right here, it is a very thin case, which I've noticed in the past couple of days of testing, but it does not feel flimsy, that's for sure. It's pretty stiff and it has a nice fit to it, so nothing to complain about there. As we look over at the front, you can see there is a lip here. It is a very minimal one, but there is a lip. As you can see right there, I do have a tempered glass screen protector on here, so if you don't have one, you are going to see more of a lip. But if you have the same setup as me, this is pretty much what you're going to be working with. All right, looking at the volume side, you can see right here, you have that dedicated button for the action button, which is metal. These do seem to be a true black. They don't look like the main color of the back of the case, at least. But let's go ahead and test these out, starting with the action button. And that is a very nice tactile button for sure that you can see. Let's look at the volume buttons. Okay, I do have to give Apple props on their buttons. They do pretty much tend to always be really tactile and nice and clicky. This is no different. As we look down at the bottom, you can see that you have a pretty nice cutout for your USB-C port, and then accurate cutouts for your speaker and your microphone down here. Looking over at the power button side, pretty much nothing except for this power button. So as you can see right here, we're going to test it out. And they are no different than the volume and action button. It is extremely tactile and very nice to press. Looking over at the top, you can see it is just completely closed off, and it is also that fabric material. Mine does have a bit of a scratch up here. I'm not sure you'll be able to notice this kind of scratch that came up right there, just like that. That happened from just me throwing it in my pocket at some point. I'm pretty sure my AirPods were in there or something, but I have noticed that it did fade away. I do want to talk about that before we move on to the MagSafe testing. A lot of people, when it comes to this phone, we're talking about how it scratches easy, and it definitely kind of does. If I scratch with my nail, you can kind of see how that scratch is left behind, but after a couple days, it does fade away. It's not a permanent scratch that I would say. Of course, if it gets scratched by like some keys or something that's really abrasive, I can't speak to that since I haven't had that happen to me yet, but it's just something to keep note of. It is scratching. So all those videos online of people scratching the case saying that it doesn't last, it will scratch, but I do think most of the scratches tend to fade away after a period of time. But let's move on to the MagSafe testing. We're gonna go ahead and start with the Spigen OMAG ring as always, which is a phone grip and stand in one. Snap this on just like that, and it definitely has some nice adhesion to it. As you can see right here, after a good shake, and it is not coming off. I do think that the silicone material on the back of this accessory tends to adhere pretty well to this material, which I also want to admit does feel kind of like, I don't want to say it feels too much like suede. It's not as soft as suede is, but for any of you out there that are into really nice materials, like an X-Pack material, it feels kind of like a soft X-Pack. That's what I would describe it as, like a really soft nylon kind of material. Let's continue on anyway. So down here, if you're gonna tap away at your phone, you can see that that stand is gonna keep up. That MagSafe magnet is not going to fly off anyway. So I would definitely trust this case with this accessory. Let's go ahead and move on to the Apple MagSafe battery pack. As you can see right here, you test out a little bit of wireless charging as well as some strength. It does wirelessly charge just fine, and strength is definitely nothing to laugh at here. It definitely does catch really well, but we do have the same kind of soft silicone material on the back here, which I do believe sticks very well to this material. So even right here simulating a drop, we did get it to fall off right there. But I do believe if you have it kind of like at pocket height and it falls, this battery pack will probably stay on. Anything higher than that, you might lose your battery pack, but that is definitely some nice adhesion there. And we do have a pretty big amount of space between the battery pack and the camera lip, as you can see right there. So no interference to take note of. If you have a bigger battery pack, that might be something to keep in mind with, but not an issue with this one. Now, a big one for me is of course going to be the MagSafe wallet test. I need my cases to be trustworthy with my wallet, but we're gonna snap this on. Here I feel like you can definitely see that color difference. This is the true black leather wallet that Apple was making a few years back, and then of course you can see the color of the case up there. But when it comes to strength, I feel like this is definitely weaker than the past two accessories, mainly because of the fact there is no silicone material on here. It is just leather, but it does tend to stick fairly well. Do get that animation. Let's try out some false drops. Okay, I did hit it pretty hard right there. It did fly off, but yeah, it looks like this one, if you drop your case with this wallet on, or your MagSafe wallet on, you might want to keep an eye out for it. It might fall off, but either way, I have already used this case with this wallet and I've had no issues when it's coming in or out of my pocket, so I'm not too worried about it, and I do trust the case with my wallet. But let's move on to the big MagSafe test, which now is this Nomad Base One charger, which is a 1 pound charging base that is MagSafe compatible. It's made of glass and metal on the bottom, so it is no joke. If a case can lift this, it definitely has decent MagSafe. So we can snap this on. As you can see, it does charge just fine. And can we lift it? And we actually can. Not touching the base at all. And you can see it is completely off of the desk. Let's try it like this. I'm not going to be touching the base, just grabbing the phone. And it does come completely off the desk, as you can see right there. Super nice to see. Can it turn it? And it can. An Apple case that I can even shake a decent amount. If you've been watching the reviews, you can see that not too many cases can do that. So definitely a shocker to see right there. I hadn't tried that test until right now filming this. I had just been using that base normally, but that is definitely nice to see. So that's pretty much it for this case, but I do want to talk a little bit more about the material. It is definitely a rugged material. I know it's going to scratch, but we put cases on our phones so that the phone itself doesn't scratch. I don't think we can complain too much about a case scratching and kind of doing its job by protecting the device itself. At least that's how I see it. I really don't think it's a big deal for your case to get scratched up, especially one like this that I've noticed scratches fading away on. Other kind of plastic cases and things like that, once those are scratched, they're scratched forever. This is not the same material at all. Of course, if you're not someone who enjoys having fabric material cases, skip this case. This is not for you at all. It is not going to be enjoyable. You are not going to like it. But as for me, I actually really enjoy this material. I have not had any complaints with it so far. I do wish that the sides were different. I don't really enjoy how the sides feel at all on this case. They feel it feels like Apple couldn't make up their mind when they were trying to figure out what material to put on here, and they kind of went with a last minute choice. That's how I feel the best way to describe it is. But either way, let's get one last look around the case and we'll call it a day for this one. So back to the camera lenses right here. You can see you get pretty minimal coverage, but they are still covered, so nothing to worry about over there. Looking over at the front side of the case, you can see you do have a pretty minimal screen lip here. Definitely nothing to write home about, but I do have a tempered glass screen protector on here, which is adding a little bit of kind of thickness to the phone. So if you don't have one, you're gonna get more lip, and this, if you are running one, this is pretty much what you're looking at. Over on the volume button side, nothing going on except the two volume buttons and the action button, which are made of metal. Super nice to see that. Very tactile buttons. Looking over at the bottom, we do have a nice cutout for the USB-C port and accurate speaker and microphone cutouts. Over on the power button side, nothing except that metal tactile power button. And then over on the top, completely closed off. And that is the Apple Finewoven case for the iPhone 15 Pro in black. Let me know what you guys really think about this case. Are you guys someone who's going to enjoy this case? Are you guys using it, or do you absolutely hate it? I've seen a lot of kind of negative comments on this case online, and while I don't totally disagree with them, I don't think there's a reason to be as harsh on the case. It is going to wear, but after some time, I do think all of these kind of light scratches and things like that will fade. But I am going to keep this in my arsenal. I will update you guys later on. Just let me know if it's something that you guys want to see. Hit me up in the comments down below and let me know if you guys have any accessories or cases you want to see me cover, and I will try my best to get to every single one of you guys' comments. Remember to subscribe. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.